Captain James Drake noticed it first during his morning observation on the bridge of the Leviathan. Earth's most advanced spaceship hung silently in orbit, its massive hull reflecting the distant sunlight. Drake's weathered face frowned as he studied the readings on his screen. "Something wrong, Captain?" asked Officer Bell, looking up from her station. Drake ran a hand through his short gray hair. "The sensor array is picking up unusual energy patterns beyond Neptune. Been watching them grow stronger for the past week." He tapped the screen, bringing up a three-dimensional map of the solar system. Small red dots appeared at the edges, moving slowly but steadily inward. "I don't like this," Drake muttered. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command." General Wilson stood before the United Defense Council, her uniform crisp despite the early hour. The large underground chamber beneath New Geneva hummed with tense conversation as world leaders and military advisors filled their seats. "Ladies and gentlemen," Wilson began, "what I'm about to share is classified Level Red." The room fell silent. Level Red was reserved for existential threats to human survival. 3 days ago, our deep space monitoring stations went dark one by one. She pressed a button, and the wall behind her lit up with a star map. First the Alpha Centauri outpost, then Proxima, then the research bases in the Barnard system. "Equipment failure?" asked one of the council members. Wilson shook her head. Each sent the same message before going silent. "They are here." Murmurs spread through the room. "Astronomers at the Lunar Observatory have confirmed that a large fleet of unknown vessels has entered our solar system," Wilson continued. "Their technology is unlike anything we've ever seen." President Carter stood up, her face pale but determined. "Have they attempted communication?" As if on cue, the screens around the room flickered in change. A figure appeared, almost human in shape, but with grayish skin and eyes too large and dark to be from Earth. "People of the third planet," the figure said in perfect English. "I am High Commander Vex of the Galactic Dominion. For 10,000 years we have brought order to the stars. Your world now falls under our protection. Resistance is both futile and unnecessary." The council chamber erupted and shouted questions, but President Carter raised her hand for silence. "What does protection mean exactly?" she asked. The alien smiled, revealing teeth to perfect and white. "It means you will serve the Dominion. Your resources and people will contribute to our greater purpose. Those who accept this truth will be treated well. Those who resist will be removed." President Carter's jaw tightened. "And if we decline your offer, then you will be conquered like all the others." The alien's image zoomed out, revealing a massive warship behind him. "We arrive in 3 of your Earth days. Prepare your surrender protocols." The transmission cut off. After a moment of stunned silence, General Wilson cleared her throat. "Madam President, it's time to activate Project Leviathan." On Mars Base Alpha, Commander Reed was enjoying his morning coffee when the alarms blared. He rushed to the control room where chaos had erupted. "Report!" he shouted over the noise. "Multiple objects entering Mars orbit," replied the young lieutenant at the scanner. "They're not responding to hails. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database." Reed looked at the monitor. At least 30 ships, each larger than anything humans had built, were positioning themselves around Mars. "Battle stations," Reed ordered, "and get me Earth Command now." Before the communications officer could comply, the first shots were fired. Energy beams of blinding intensity struck the base's defense at shields. The entire structure shook. "Shields at 60%, someone shouted. Reed grabbed the emergency comm. "All personnel, evacuate to the underground shelters." "This is not a drill." More beams struck the base. Equipment exploded, and emergency lights flashed on as the main power failed. Shields failing. Reed watched in horror as the alien ships descended toward the surface, their weapons tearing through Mars Base Alpha's defenses like paper. His last transmission to Earth was brief. "They're here. God help us all." Back on Earth, the United Defense Council was in emergency session when the news from Mars arrived. "All Mars bases have fallen," General Wilson reported grimly. "We've lost contact with the lunar stations as well. They're moving faster than we anticipated." President Carter looked around the table. "Poptions." Admiral Jones stood up. "Madam President, for the past 15 years, we've been preparing for this possibility. Since the first alien signals were detected in the Kuiper Belt, "We've been building." He pressed a button and a hologram appeared above the table. "A massive orbital defense network surrounding Earth. Aegis system," he explained. "Thousands of automated defense platforms equipped with our most advanced weapons technology. If they want Earth, they'll have to fight for it. Will it be enough?" asked the president. General Wilson looked grim. "Honestly, probably not. Not against what we're seeing, but it will buy us time to deploy our real weapon." She brought up a new image. A spacecraft unlike any other in Earth's fleet. Sleek and dark. Its design seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Nearly 2 kilometers long, its shape vaguely resembled ancient sea creatures from Earth's oceans. "The Leviathan," Wilson said. "The most advanced weapons platform humanity has ever created. It's been in secret trials for 3 years, Captain Drake reports. It's ready for combat." "One ship against an armada?" someone asked skeptically. Wilson smiled thinly. "This isn't just a ship. It's our best minds and most advanced technology combined with something they won't expect." Which is President Carter pressed. "Human ingenuity, Madam President. Plus a few surprises we've been working on since we discovered we weren't alone in the universe." Aboard the Leviathan, Captain Drake read his new orders with a grim expression around him. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, preparing the massive ship for its first real combat mission. Captain called Officer Bell. "We're receiving a transmission from the approaching fleet." Drake nodded. "Put it through." The main screen showed the same alien face that had addressed Earth earlier. "You have one of your planetary rotations remaining to surrender," said High Commander Vex. "Already your outposts have fallen. Resistance only brings suffering." Drake leaned forward. "This is Captain James Drake of the Earth vessel Leviathan. We've been watching your kind for longer than you think. You should know that humans don't surrender easily." The alien's expression didn't change, but something like amusement flickered in those large eyes. "Your primitive vessel, impressive as it may seem to you, cannot stand against the Dominion. We have conquered 1,000 worlds more advanced than yours." Drake smiled. "Maybe, but none of them were Earth." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Battle stations. We launch in 1 hour." As the Leviathan's engines hummed to life, Drake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien armada approached, confident in their victory. They had conquered the stars for millennia, spreading their dominion across the galaxy. But they had never met Earth. They had never faced humanity with its back against the wall. And they had never encountered the Leviathan. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The Dominion fleet spread through the solar system like a plague of metal locusts. Their ships, dark and angular, positioned themselves around Jupiter's moons, the rings of Saturn and the asteroid belt. Within 2 Earth days, they had established bases on Titan, Europa, and Ganymede. From the bridge of the Leviathan, Captain Drake watched the tactical display with growing concern. The alien ships outnumbered Earth forces 20 to 1. "They're methodical," he said to his second-in-command, Officer Bell, "taking control of our resources before they hit Earth directly." Bell nodded grimly. "Smart strategy. Cut us off from our mining operations and fuel supplies first." The ship's communication system beeped. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command," reported the communications officer. General Wilson's face appeared on screen. Even through the digital connection, Drake could see the exhaustion in her eyes. "Captain, the Dominion fleet is moving towards our orbital defenses. This is it. Aegis system is online and ready, but we need the Leviathan in position." Drake straightened. "We're ready, General. Operation Shadow Strike is a go." Wilson's face was solemn. "Good hunting, Captain. Earth is counting on you." High above Earth, the first wave of Dominion warships approached the planet. Inside the lead vessel, Admiral Voss observed the blue world with cold curiosity. "Primitive but beautiful," he remarked to his officers. "Scan for their defenses already complete." "Admiral," replied his second. "Minimal orbital platforms, basic weapons technology, nothing our shields can't handle." Voss narrowed his large eyes. "Proceed with caution. Intelligence reports suggest these humans are resourceful." The Dominion ships moved forward, their weapons charging. Suddenly, the space around Earth lit up as thousands of previously invisible defense platforms revealed themselves, their camouflage fields dropping. "Evasive action," Voss shouted. But it was too late. The Aegis system fired. Thousands of energy beams lanced toward the Dominion fleet. The alien shields flared bright as they absorbed the unexpected assault. "Impossible!" Voss's second shouted. "Our scans showed nothing like this capability." Voss gripped his command chair. "All ships return fire. Break through their defenses." In the Leviathan's engine room, Chief Engineer Miller worked frantically to maintain the ship's experimental dry system. "The quantum field is holding steady," he reported to the bridge. "We can make the jump whenever you're ready, Captain." On the bridge, Drake nodded. "Now we show them what Leviathan can really do. Prepare for quantum shift." The massive ship vibrated as its engines powered up. Unlike conventional drives, the Leviathan's propulsion system could briefly shift the vessel partially out of normal space, allowing it to move incredible distances in seconds. Quantum shift in 3, 2, 1. The stars blurred around them. For a moment, reality itself seemed to bend. Then the Leviathan reappeared directly behind the Dominion's rear fleet. "All weapons fire," Drake ordered. The Leviathan's main cannons released streams of focused energy, tearing through the unprepared Dominion ships. 3 alien vessels erupted into flames before they could even turn to face this new threat. "Hit and run," Drake commanded. "Target their supply ships first." Admiral Voss received the reports with growing rage. "How did they get behind our lines?" "Find that Earth ship." "Sir, they're gone again," his tactical officer reported. "They appear to be using some kind of advanced jump technology." Before Voss could respond, the Leviathan appeared again, this time among the Dominion's fuel tankers. More explosions bloomed in the blackness of space as the human ship struck and vanished once more. "Impossible," Voss hissed. "No species at their development stage should have this technology." On his command screen, he watched as the orbital defense network continued to hold the main fleet at bay while the mysterious human vessel appeared and disappeared across the battlefield, striking critical targets before vanishing again. "Sir, we've lost 15% of our fleet already," reported his second. "The High Command will not be pleased." Voss slammed his fist on his chair. "Gather all battle groups. Focus fire on their orbital defenses. I want that human ship found and destroyed on Earth, in the underground science complex beneath New Geneva." Dr. Morgan analyzed the incoming battle data. "There's a pattern to their shield modulation," she said, pointing to the screen where streams of numbers flowed past. "Every time our weapons hit them, their shields adjust frequency to match." President Carter leaned closer. "Can we use that somehow?" Morgan nodded excitedly. "If we can predict the modulation pattern, we might be able to calibrate our weapons to pass right through their shields." She quickly sent the findings to General Wilson, who relayed them to the Leviathan. Drake received the new information during a brief respite between attacks. "Dr. Morgan's a genius," he told his weapons officer. "Resciate all our weapons systems according to her specifications." "Ready for another jump, Captain?" Bell reported. "But the quantum drive needs time to cool after this one. We'll be visible for at least 10 minutes afterward." Drake considered his options. "Then we make this one count. Target their command ship." The Leviathan shifted again, appearing directly above Admiral Voss's flagship. This time, when the human vessel fired, its energy beams passed through the Dominion shields as if they weren't there. Voss was thrown from his chair as explosions ripped through his ship. "How are they penetrating our shields?" he demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. They've somehow adapted their weapons to our shield frequency." Voss staggered to his feet as more hits rocked the vessel. "All ships change shield frequencies randomly. Don't maintain any pattern." But the damage was done. A third of the Dominion's advanced fleet was destroyed or disabled. The rest began to pull back, retreating to safer positions near Jupiter. On the Leviathan, the celebration was short-lived. The quantum drive overheated during the last jump, and the ship shuddered as conventional engines struggled to move its massive bulk. "3 Dominion cruisers on approach," Bell warned. "Our weapons are at half power after that last barrage." Drake gripped his chair. "Evasive maneuvers, all power to forward shields." The Leviathan trembled as enemy fire struck it repeatedly. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Hull breach on Deck 12, someone shouted. "Emergency teams responding." More blasts hit the human ship. Drake watched as systems failed across the board. Just when it seemed the Leviathan would be torn apart, a fresh wave of fire from Earth's defenses forced the Dominion ships to break off their attack. The Leviathan limped back toward Earth, battered but not beaten. In the aftermath of the battle, both sides assessed their losses. The Dominion fleet had retreated to regroup, but everyone knew they would return, and in greater numbers. Admiral Voss paced his damaged bridge. "I want to know everything about that human ship," he demanded. "Its capabilities, its weaknesses, everything." On Earth, General Wilson delivered her report to a somber defense council. "We bloodied their nose today, but this is just the beginning. The Leviathan performed better than expected, but it's severely damaged." "How long to repair it?" President Carter asked. 3 days minimum. But our intelligence suggests the Dominion is calling for reinforcements from across their empire. Next time they'll come with an even larger fleet. Dr. Morgan stepped forward. "I may have something that can help. Something we learned from studying the wreckage of their ships." All eyes turned to her as she began to explain her discovery. One that might give humanity a fighting chance in the battles to come. As the damaged Leviathan docked with Earth's orbital station, Captain Drake looked out at the stars. They had won the first round. But the real war was just beginning. 3 days after the first battle, the skies above Earth grew dark with Dominion ships. The reinforcements Admiral Voss had called for arrived in waves, their massive holes blocking out the stars as they took position around the planet. In the orbital repair dock, the Leviathan underwent frantic repairs. Technicians worked around the clock, patching hull breaches and replacing damaged systems. Captain Drake hadn't slept in 48 hours, dividing his time between overseeing repairs and strategy meetings with Earth Command. "We counted over 500 new Dominion ships arriving in the last 12 hours. General Wilson reported in the command center beneath New Geneva. "They've established a blockade around Earth. Nothing gets in or out." President Carter looked at the holographic display showing the alien fleet surrounding their planet. "What about our outer colonies? Mars, the Jupiter stations, all gone," Wilson said grimly. "The Dominion has taken control of every human outpost in the solar system." Dr. Morgan entered the room, carrying a tablet filled with data. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but there was excitement in her voice. "We've made a breakthrough," she announced. "Based on the Dominion technology, we recovered from the battle." She placed her tablet on the table, and a hologram appeared, showing complex diagrams of alien systems. Their ships use quantum entanglement for instant communication across vast distances. It's how they coordinate their fleet so effectively. "Can we disrupt it?" asked President Carter. Morgan smiled. "Better. We can hijack it." Aboard the Leviathan, Chief Engineer Miller led Drake through the ship's central core, where a new device was being installed. "We're calling it Project Kraken," Miller explained, pointing to the massive apparatus that hummed with power. Based on Dr. Morgan's research, it can tap into the Dominion's quantum communication network. Drake studied the device with a mixture of hope and skepticism. What exactly will it do? In theory, it could let us listen to their communications, send false orders, or even disable their coordination entirely. Miller patted the machine. "It's never been tested in combat, of course, but Dr. Morgan believes it will work." Drake nodded slowly. "It has to work. We're running out of options." As they spoke, Officer Bell hurried toward them. "Captain, you're needed on the bridge immediately. The Dominion is broadcasting across all frequencies. On screens across Earth, Admiral Voss's face appeared. The alien commander looked confident, his large eyes reflecting cold determination. "People of Earth," he began, "your resistance has been noted. It is unusual. Few species fight back once the Dominion arrives." He paused, as if expecting appreciation for the compliment. "However, this changes nothing. We have blockaded your world. Your colonies have fallen. Your resources now belong to the Dominion." The camera pulled back to show Voss standing on what appeared to be the surface of the moon, Earth's flag lying torn at his feet. Behind him, Dominion ships landed troops and equipment on the lunar surface. "Your moon is now under our control. Soon, we will begin our ground invasion of Earth itself. This is your final opportunity to surrender." The transmission ended, leaving millions of frightened humans staring at blank screens. In cities across Earth, people prepared for invasion. Some fled to the countryside or to underground shelters. Others joined the rapidly expanding defense forces. Weapons were distributed to civilians, and barricades appeared in major cities. But in a secret meeting room beneath New Geneva, Earth's leaders discussed their true plan. The Leviathan repairs are nearly complete, reported General Wilson. Project Kraken is installed and ready for testing. What are our chances? President Carter asked. Dr. Morgan stepped forward. If it works as designed, we could potentially turn the tide. But there's a problem. We need to get close enough to their command ship for Kraken to access their main communication hub. And their command ship is now on the moon, Drake added, joining the meeting via secure video link from the Leviathan, surrounded by hundreds of Dominion vessels. The room fell silent as the impossible task before them sank in. There's more bad news, Wilson said, breaking the silence. We have reason to believe there's a traitor among us. On the lunar surface, Admiral Voss reviewed the information that had been secretly transmitted to him. The data showed the Leviathan's repair schedule, its new capabilities, and details of Earth's remaining defenses. Excellent, Voss told his second-in-command. Our source continues to provide valuable intelligence. Should we attack now while their ship is still under repair? Asked the second. Voss considered this. No, I want the Leviathan intact. Its technology is unexpected. High Command wants it studied. He walked to the viewport, gazing at the blue planet hanging in the blackness of space. Prepare a special task force. When the Leviathan launches, we'll be ready to capture it. Back on Earth, security protocols were tightened. Only a handful of people now had access to the full details of Project Kraken and the Leviathan's mission. Even so, Drake couldn't shake the feeling that they were being washed. In the ship's mess hall, he found Dr. Morgan analyzing data on her tablet. How's our new weapon coming along? He asked, sitting across from her. Morgan glanced around to ensure they were alone. The tests are promising. Kraken can definitely tap into their network, but we need to be within 50 kilometers of their main communication hub to activate it safely. Drake frowned. That's practically suicide. Their lunar base is the most heavily defended position in the solar system right now. I know, Morgan said quietly. That's why I've been working on a way to boost the signal. If we can extend Kraken's range, we might be able to activate it from a safer distance. She showed him her calculations. Drake wasn't a scientist, but he understood enough to see the challenge they faced. Keep working on it, he said. We launch in 12 hours, ready or not. As night fell across Earth for perhaps the last time before invasion, the final preparations for the Leviathan's mission were completed. The massive ship disengaged from its repair dock, its engines glowing softly against the darkness of space. On the bridge, Drake addressed his crew. What we attempt today may determine the future of our planet. The Dominion thinks they have us trapped. They believe their technology, their numbers, and their experience conquering other worlds gives them the advantage. He looked at each face, seeing determination reflected back. But they've never faced humans before. They don't understand what we're capable of when everything we love is threatened. As he spoke, the Leviathan's engines powered up, preparing for the desperate mission ahead. On the moon, alert signals blared across the Dominion base. The human vessel has launched, reported a tactical officer. Admiral Voss smiled coldly. Just as our source informed us, deploy the capture fleet. Remember, I want that ship intact. Dozens of Dominion ships moved into position, forming an elaborate trap designed to force the Leviathan into a specific corridor of space. Voss watched as the human ship approached, apparently unaware of the danger. Soon, he murmured, the Leviathan will be mine. Aboard the Leviathan, Drake noticed the strange pattern of Dominion ships ahead. They're forming a funnel, he observed, trying to guide us into a trap. Vel nodded. They're expecting us to go for the moon, to attack their new base. Drake smiled grimly. Then let's not disappoint them. All hands prepare for combat maneuvers. The Leviathan accelerated toward the moon, seemingly headed directly into the Dominion's trap. But as they approached the narrowest point of the enemy formation, Drake gave an unexpected order. Dive. The massive ship suddenly changed course, plunging toward Jupiter instead of continuing toward the moon. The quantum drive engaged, and the Leviathan vanished from the Dominion sensors. What happened? Voss demanded as the human ship disappeared from his tracking systems. Find them, but the Leviathan was already far away, hidden within the swirling storms of Jupiter's atmosphere, preparing for a different approach that the Dominion would never expect. Hidden within Jupiter's swirling storms, the Leviathan drifted silently. The massive gas giant's thick atmosphere scrambled sensors, making the ship invisible to Dominion tracking systems. On the bridge, Captain Drake watched the tactical display, showing Dominion search parties, calming the space between Earth and the Moon. "They still don't know where we are," Bell reported. "But we can't hide here forever." Drake nodded grimly. "How's Project Kraken coming along?" Dr. Morgan and Chief Miller are making final adjustments. They think they found a way to boost the range. Before Drake could respond, an emergency signal flashed on the main screen. It was General Wilson, her face tense with worry. "Captain, the lunar bases have fallen completely. The Dominion has begun landing troops on Earth." Drake's hands tightened on his chair. "Where?" "Major coastal cities first. New York, Shanghai, Rio. They're establishing beachheads for a larger invasion force." Wilson looked away briefly as someone handed her a report. "Our ground forces are engaging, but they're outnumbered and outgunned." "What about the Aegis defense system?" Drake asked. 80% destroyed. The Dominion focused all their firepower on it after you escaped their trap." Wilson's voice lowered. "We need the Leviathan, Captain. We need Project Kraken operational now." Drake's jaw tightened. "We're working on it. Just hold them as long as you can." The transmission ended, and Drake turned to his crew. "Get me Dr. Morgan and Chief Miller. It's time to roll the dice." On Earth, the first waves of Dominion troops marched through the streets of major cities. Their armor gleamed in the sunlight, impervious to most human weapons. Behind them came massive walker machines towering 3 stories high, crushing everything in their path. But the humans fought back with surprising determination. In New York, civilian militias ambushed Dominion patrols using the city's complex subway system. In Shanghai, modified construction equipment became makeshift battle machines. Everywhere, the invaders found not easy conquest, but bitter street-by-street resistance. In the command bunker beneath New Geneva, President Carter received hourly reports of the fighting. "They're in London now," a general reported. "Paris is holding but barely. Moscow reports heavy fighting in the suburbs." Carter nodded wearily. "And our special project?" General Wilson checked her secure tablet. "Still no word from the Leviathan. They're maintaining radio silence. We need more time," Carter said. "Every minute our people keep fighting is another minute for Drake to complete the mission." As they spoke, an aide rushed in. "Madam President, we're detecting a massive energy buildup in Saturn's rings. The Dominion is assembling something big." Satellite imagery appeared on the main screen, showing hundreds of Dominion ships gathering around a massive structure, taking shape among Saturn's icy rings. Wilson's face paled. "That's a planet-killer weapon. They're not planning to conquer Earth anymore. They're going to destroy it." Aboard his flagship, Admiral Voss received the latest battle reports from Earth. The resistance was stronger than expected, with human forces using their knowledge of the terrain to surprising advantage. "High Command is growing impatient," his second-in-command noted. They expected Earth to fall within days. Voss's large eyes narrowed. "High Command does not understand these humans. They fight differently than other species we've conquered. The planet killer will solve that problem." The second said, "Assembly is almost complete." Voss looked at the image of the massive weapon taking shape in Saturn's rings. A part of him regretted the necessity. Earth was a beautiful world, rich in resources and life. Destroying it seemed wasteful. How long until it's operational? 12 Earth hours. Then we can end this resistance permanently. Voss nodded slowly. "Continue the ground invasion. Keep them distracted while the weapon is completed." As his officers carried out his orders, Voss returned to the question that had haunted him since the first battle. Where was the Leviathan? Inside Jupiter's turbulent atmosphere, Dr. Morgan made the final adjustments to Project Kraken. The device hummed with power, its complex arrays of quantum receivers glowing softly. "We've tripled its range," she told Drake. "It should be able to reach their command network from a much greater distance now. Will it work?" Drake asked simply. Morgan hesitated. "In theory, yes, but we've never tested it against their actual network." "No time like the present," Drake said. He turned to the bridge crew. "Prepare to leave Jupiter's atmosphere. Set course for Saturn." Vel looked up in surprise. "Satan, not Earth." Drake shook his head. Our spies report the Dominion is building something big in Saturn's rings, something that could destroy Earth entirely. We need to stop it. The Leviathan's engines powered up, pushing against Jupiter's thick clouds. Slowly, the massive ship rose through the layers of atmosphere until finally breaking free into open space. No sign of Dominion pursuit, Bell reported. They still don't know where we are. Good, Drake said. Full speed to Saturn and ready all weapons. This won't be a quiet approach. On Earth, the battle for survival continued. In cities across the globe, humans fought with everything they had against the Dominion invaders. Old weapons were pulled from museums. Sports equipment became makeshift armor, and civilian vehicles were turned into improvised fighting machines. In London, a group of dock workers used cranes to trap and crush a Dominion walker. In Rio, hang gliders dropped homemade bombs on enemy positions. The Dominion had expected an easy conquest. Instead, they found themselves fighting for every inch of ground. But it wasn't enough. Slowly, inevitably, the alien forces pushed forward. Their superior weapons and armor gave them an advantage that courage alone couldn't overcome. In the new Geneva bunker, President Carter received the worst news yet. They've broken through our last defensive line in North America. Eastern Europe has fallen. Africa is holding, but they're running out of ammunition. She closed her eyes briefly. How much longer can we last? General Wilson's answer was blunt. Without help, maybe 24 hours. The Leviathan approached Saturn on a stealth trajectory, using the planet's rings for cover. Through the ship's powerful telescopes, Drake could see the massive weapon the Dominion was building. It resembled a giant claw, its center filled with pulsing energy that grew brighter by the minute. Analysis? He asked. It's using the same quantum technology as their communication network, Dr. Morgan replied, studying the data, but amplified 1,000 times. When activated, it could tear Earth's crust apart. Drake nodded grimly. Then we stop it. How close do we need to get for Project Kraken to work? With the boosted range, about 50,000 kilometers, but we'll be detected long before we get that close. Drake smiled thinly. That's what they expect. So, we'll do something unexpected. He turned to the weapons officer. Prepare all missiles. Load them with the sensor jamming packages. The plan was simple but desperate. The Leviathan would fire its entire missile complement at once, not to destroy the Dominion fleet, but to create a massive sensor blackout. In the confusion, they would slip closer, activate Project Kraken, and pray it worked. All hands to battle stations, Drake ordered. This is it. The fate of Earth depends on what happens in the next hour. As the Leviathan moved into position, the crew could see hundreds of Dominion ships surrounding the planet-killer weapon. The odds were impossible, the mission likely suicidal, but they were humanity's last hope. Drake took a deep breath and gave the order. Fire. Space lit up as the Leviathan's missiles strained toward the Dominion fleet. They weren't aimed to destroy. They were designed to blind. Each missile burst into clouds of electronic interference, scrambling sensors and communications across the entire region. Confusion spreading through the Dominion fleet, Bell reported, watching the tactical display. Their ships are breaking formation. Drake nodded grimly. Now's our chance. Full power to engines. The Leviathan surged forward, its massive bulk surprisingly nimble as it weaved between the drifting Dominion vessels. Alarms blared as enemy ships fired blindly into the sensor-jamming clouds, hoping to hit something, anything. Taking fire, but they can't lock onto us, the weapons officer called out. Shields holding at 80%. Drake kept his eyes on the planet-killer weapon ahead. The massive construct continued to pulse with growing energy. They had minutes at most before it would be operational. Distance to optimal range for Project Kraken? Drake asked. Dr. Morgan checked her instruments. 70,000 kilometers, and closing. We need to get closer. A massive explosion rocked the ship as a lucky shot from a Dominion cruiser struck their port side. Hull breach on Deck 7, someone shouted. Emergency teams responding. Drake gripped his chair as the Leviathan shuddered. Stay on course. On his flagship, now drifting amid the chaos, Admiral Voss struggled to understand what was happening. Restore sensors, he demanded. Find that human ship. Impossible, Admiral, his second replied. The interference is too strong. We're effectively blind. Voss slammed his fist against his command console. The planet killer. Is it still on schedule? The second checked a separate communications link. Yes, Admiral. The weapon is at 90% power. It will fire in approximately 7 Earth minutes. Voss nodded, somewhat calmed. Then it doesn't matter. Even if they've somehow found us, they can't stop what's coming. The Leviathan pushed deeper into the heart of the Dominion fleet, taking hit after hit as it approached the massive weapon. The sensor jamming was beginning to fade, and more enemy ships were finding their target. Shields at 40% and falling. Bell reported, "We can't take much more of this distance to optimal range," Drake demanded. 55,000 kilometers, Morgan replied. Almost there. Another blast rocked the ship, more violent than the others. Fire erupted on the bridge as a console exploded, injuring 2 crew members, shields failing. The engineering officer shouted over the emergency sirens. "One more direct hit and we're done." Drake made a split-second decision. Divert all power from weapons to shields and engines. Get us to that range. The Leviathan surged forward, its weapon systems going dark as every ounce of power transferred to propulsion and defense. The massive ship plunged through a gap between 2 Dominion cruisers, scraping against one with a horrific screech of metal on metal. 50,000 kilometers, Morgan announced. "We're in range. Activate Project Kraken," Drake ordered. Morgan slammed her hand down on the activation panel. The ship vibrated as the quantum device powered up, sending invisible tendrils of energy toward the Dominion command network. For a moment, nothing happened. "Did it work?" Drake asked, tension evident in his voice. Morgan checked her instruments, frowning. "The signal is transmitting, but I don't see any effect on their systems." Drake's heart sank. Had they come all this way for nothing? Then something unexpected happened. The planet killer weapon, now glowing with nearly full power, suddenly dimmed around them. Dominion ships began to drift aimlessly, their engines and weapons powering down. "I don't understand," Morgan said, staring at her readings in disbelief. "Project Kraken wasn't supposed to do that. It was only meant to disrupt communications." Chief Engineer Miller's voice came over the comm. "Captain, something strange is happening. The quantum device has evolved somehow. It's not just tapping into their communication network. It's taking control of their entire operating system." On his flagship, Admiral Voss watched in horror as his ship systems shut down, one by one. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across the bridge as main power failed. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Unknown, Admiral," his second replied, frantically working controls that no longer responded. "Some kind of system-wide failure. It's affecting all Dominion vessels in the area." Voss turned to look out the viewport and froze. There, approaching his disabled flagship, was the Leviathan. "They did this," he whispered. "Somehow, they found a way into our core systems." For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Voss felt something new. Fear. Drake couldn't believe their luck. "All Dominion ships in range are powered down," Bell reported, "including the planet killer." "How is this possible?" Drake asked, turning to Morgan. She shook her head in amazement. "The quantum nature of their technology. Project Kraken must have created some kind of feedback loop. We didn't just tap into their network, we overrode it." Drake saw an opportunity. "Can we control their ships?" Morgan worked her console, eyes wide with excitement. "Theoretically, yes. The quantum link works both ways. We could potentially issue commands directly to their systems." A plan formed in Drake's mind. "Target Admiral Voss's flagship. Bring us alongside." The Leviathan moved purposefully now, no longer under fire until it dwarfed the dark hulk of Voss's command ship. "Open a channel," Drake ordered. Admiral Voss's face appeared on screen, his alien features tight with barely controlled rage. "What have you done?" he demanded. Drake stood tall. "What you never expected, Admiral. We turned your greatest strength against you. Your ships are under our control now." "Impossible," Voss hissed. "Look around you," Drake replied. "Your fleet is helpless. Your planet killer is disabled. And now you have a choice." Drake leaned forward. "Surrender and withdraw from our solar system, or we will use your own ships against you." "To demonstrate." Drake nodded to Morgan. She pressed a sequence of commands, and one of the nearby Dominion cruisers suddenly fired on another, destroying it completely. Voss's eyes widened in shock. You would sacrifice our soldiers. You were ready to destroy our entire planet, Drake countered. I'm offering you a chance to save your people, more than you offered us. The alien admiral was silent for a long moment. Then, with visible reluctance, he bowed his head. The Dominion withdraws. News of the victory spread across Earth like wildfire. In cities where fighting still raged, Dominion troops suddenly received retreat orders. Their walker machines powered down, and their ships lifted off, leaving behind a battered but undefeated humanity. In the command bunker beneath New Geneva, President Carter listened to Drake's report with tears in her eyes. You did it, Captain. You saved us all. It wasn't just us, Drake replied modestly. It was everyone who fought and held the line long enough for us to complete the mission. As the Leviathan made its triumphant return to Earth, something unexpected appeared at the edge of the solar system. Ships began arriving. Not Dominion vessels, but crafts of various designs and origins. We're receiving transmissions, Bell reported. They're representatives from other worlds. Worlds that were conquered by the Dominion. They say they've been monitoring our battle, Morgan added, reading the incoming messages. When they saw a small planet defeat the mighty Dominion, they decided to rise up too. Drake looked at the view screen, where dozens of alien ships approached in peaceful formation. They want to form an alliance, he said wonderingly. With us. General Wilson's voice came through the comm system. It seems the Dominion's empire is crumbling, Captain, and humanity is being looked to for leadership. As the Leviathan entered Earth orbit, Drake gazed down at the blue planet below. It was scared by battle but intact. And now, unexpectedly, at the center of a new interstellar community. What do we do now? Bell asked softly. Drake smiled. Now we rebuild. We learn, and we make sure nothing like this ever threatens any world again. Outside the viewports, Earth's orbital stations began lighting up once more. The planet was battered, but unbroken. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge, and emerged not just victorious, but stronger. In the darkness beyond Saturn, the last of the Dominion fleet limped away, their myth of invincibility shattered forever by a single ship named after an ancient sea monster, Earth's Leviathan. The stars would remember this day, the day when humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as liberators. The day when one small world proved that determination and ingenuity could overcome even the most powerful empire. The day when they conquered the stars until their arm met Earth's Leviathan.